This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups. And my guest today is Kelsey Matheson. Kelsey, thank you for joining us on Rising Tide.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I'm anxious to hear a little bit about you. Can you share a little bit with our listeners? Who is Kelsey Matheson?
So I'm Kelsey Matheson. I am an entrepreneur and a success coach. I'm originally from Canada, but 3 years ago, my husband and my daughter and I moved to New York City. And I've been working for myself for over 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
I started as an actor and a dancer back in the day. I worked in film and TV, and I did a little bit of theater. And then 10 years ago, I opened Anamaya Resort, which is a boutique hotel and yoga retreat center in Montezuma, Costa Rica. So we host week-long yoga retreats as well as 3-week-long yoga teacher trainings, so people can go and get certified to become yoga teachers. And we do that throughout the year at a very magical location in Montezuma. We overlook like 270 degrees of ocean coastline. It's stunning. I'm also the founder and owner of a company called Bee Outfitter, which is a backpack company and outdoor gear company that helps to put children around the world through school. So we design backpacks for people who are into rock climbing and camping, surfing, hiking, people who really love the outdoors. Mm-hmm. But we're just about to launch a new product called the Campo, and it's a tarp because rock climbers and surfers, for example, never put their gear on the ground. Like, for example, with rock climbers, it can compromise the safety of the gear, right? So it's a tarp that turns into a hammock that also turns into a rain poncho. So we're very excited about that product. And I also have a number of online courses and coaching programs that help support women. So whether these women are building their businesses or helping with, or need help with what I call the most misdiagnosed or misunderstood areas of women's health, specifically from the ages of 35 to 55. I have a number of programs online that I've created over the past few years. So I've built multi-million-dollar businesses, and I've built total flops, lost a lot of money, made a lot of money, and everything kind of in between. And all of that sort of led me to becoming a success coach. So here I am.
So now that we've established that you're a classic underachiever,
yeah.
and never have anything going on, and then probably lead a highly boring life. I mean, so kind of walk us through the transition. So you said you were in acting and dance and whatever up to this point. So I mean, that certainly would explain to you why you're comfortable on camera and this is nothing new to you. So,
right.
But how do you transition from that to wake up one day and say, I'm going to open a retreat center. I'm going to build, create backpack. I mean, our outdoor gear, and then all these things that kind of lead to the next thing. So what's kind of that circuitous journey you've been on?
Yeah, well, and it's been interesting. I feel like I've led multiple lives, in this one life. But I now I'm very focused on my coaching business. But throughout this journey, I think I've been so interested in so many different things, but I love being my own boss, and I've always loved being my own boss. So even if I was an actor or a dancer and I had an agent, I was still pretty much self-employed. It was my business, and I was growing that. And then I traveled to Japan for a while, and then ended up getting married, and I loved Costa Rica. And so my husband and I went to Costa Rica, and I was like, I want to have a home here one day. And having a home here one day kind of turned into meeting my business partners, my future business partners. And then we were going to open up actually an addiction center for drug and alcohol addiction, which my family has a history of depression and alcohol and drug addiction. Uh-huh. So for me, my ears perked up, and I said, well, I want to be a part of that. And at that time they were looking for silent investors and silent business partners. And so I was like, maybe this will just be an investment. That's a long story, but that didn't end up happening. And so there was a few of us investors at the time that were like, let's still continue. Let's move forward with this and open up a boutique hotel, which then kind of transformed into a yoga retreat center, which then, and I ended up meeting my business partner with the backpack company kind of through that as well. So I felt like it just kind of fell on my lap. Things that I was passionate about, things that I loved doing. I already had, determined that I loved being my own boss. I thought it was maybe going to be an investment, where I'd get a return on my money. I never knew that all of a sudden I was going to start literally building businesses around the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and then, and I should say too, that it might sound a little corny, but kind of through this journey, I really love working with women, and the retreat centers for both men, women, kids, but it's interesting because through this, I believe that empowering more women to step into their roles as leaders will make this world a better place. And not only for our generation, but for generations to come. That is a passion of mine. And it's interesting because I never thought I was ever going to be a coach. Like, that was never on my radar, but I had a lot of women coming to me saying, Kelsey, I want to learn more about what you do. And how do you do that? Like, I want to learn how to do that. So I kind of felt coaching was the best way that I could help. And so now I coach one-on-one. But I only do that with a handful of people because, as you know, I'm still running my own businesses.
Sure.
So I have a lot going on. So then I ended up doing some group coaching, and now I have a mastermind for female entrepreneurs. But it's all, intimately kind of, related in a weird way. So
it always is. I mean, I've done almost 100 of these interviews, and almost without fail, you can look back and you can kind of walk them through the journey, this kind of entrepreneurial journey, and nothing's wasted. I mean, it's amazing how many times these seemingly disparate pieces are, fit together. And when you look at it, it looks like a bunch of just like I said, disparate pieces, but then you put it together and there's this beautiful picture, at the end of this journey that, as they've come through. And I'm also convinced that the best coaches are accidental coaches. I mean,
interesting.
They kind of walk in, they just kind of grow into it. That was not aspirational. I didn't wake up one day and say, I think I want to go and be a certified coach, and I'm just going to be a really good coach. They're a good coach because people actually recognize that in them, before. And they said, well, actually, maybe I need to kind of accept this and just kind of walk in this. So
yeah, that's right.
I mean, from a time standpoint, what's your typical day? I mean,
oh boy,
if you have a typical day, I mean, so
so a typical so I wake up early, I try to get a workout in, and then shower and get my daughter off to school. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, soon to be 10. She always says she's soon graduating to the double digits. So I try to get my workout in the morning, because I'm one of those people that if I don't, even if it's just 20 minutes, 15 minutes even, but I try to get a half an hour workout in. If I don't get it in the morning, I usually don't get it in at all. That's, so I try to get that in, and then my focus is on my daughter. My husband and I getting her ready and having breakfast and the families together. And then we both walk her to school. And then we continue to walk, and I have an office. So I work in a working space, but I have an actual office with, door closed and a lock, and I have access to this place 24/7, which is great. And so I come to the office, and then before I do anything, I meditate. And that is a huge, tool for me, and kind of, it's key for me to start my day with the workout. And then also I meditate. And then I have, like, I don't know my planner with me, but it's like every hour is scheduled with something. So whether it's working on Anamaya, whether it's working with my, backpack company, whether it's clients, we're also launching a subscription box. So it's working on that. So I have every hour of every day, or every hour that I'm here in the office, booked and scheduled and planned. And then I leave, lock up the office, and I try to keep work at home as much as possible. It's hard when you're an entrepreneur. Then I pick up my daughter, or she'll already be at home. And then it's homework, or it's piano lessons, or she's in the Brooklyn Youth Chorus, and there's all that. Right. And then it's dinner and hanging out in bed. And then in the evenings, sometimes another hour or two spent on work if I have to. And then it starts all over again. So
well, if you're getting up at, early in the morning, I mean, you probably aren't staying up late at night either. So, I mean, there's probably some balance you have to maintain just to stay awake during the day.
Yeah. Or it'll just come back to bite me. Exactly. Really. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you and I are stepping on an elevator. We're going to go up, 10 floors. Got another 45 seconds or whatever here to kind of cover this journey, and maybe a minute. Tell me exactly. Give me your elevator pitch on whatever the business is you want to touch on.
Right. So I think for me, and just because my focus right now is on women and empowering women, I believe that more women need to step into their roles as leaders. And I believe that empowering more women and helping women get out of their own way is crucial for this world to become a better place for generations to come. So that's why I do what I do. I'm very, very passionate about working one-on-one with women. It doesn't mean that I don't work with men, but I've just found that my niche has been entrepreneurial women, and it's scary to start your own business, and it's scary to take risks, and it's scary to jump into the pool, so to speak. But your old identity is going to hold you back. Your new identity is like so eager to step forward, and it's worth every moment. So I feel like fear is normal. Fear is there to keep us safe, but we can navigate through fear very strategically in order for you to live the life that you want to live. And that's what I do. I help women do that.
Are these primarily women that are starting businesses, or are they just women in general?
So it depends. I would say 80%, 85% of the women I work with are starting a business or have taken their business to a certain level, and they just can't break through to the next level, right? To the next phase. I do work with women specifically on health and wellness as well, but I'd say the majority of women I work with have started or are at a certain place in growing their business.
I mean, it really is holistic. I mean,
yeah,
we tend to compartmentalize things. I think even in the West, I think far too much. I mean,
yeah.
And I actually have lived on the other side of the planet for a bit. So, I mean, I was exposed to the whole idea of that, everything was integrated. And I mean, there was no natural spiritual separation. It was like, everything is really together and it was really an interesting, approach to life
Yeah.
Whether you walk in, which is your faith or your work or whatever it is that's combined into this, kind of an integrated, fashion, and seeing everything that is connected.
Yeah. Yeah. And intimately, right? We were
Right.
talking about that, like that intimate connection, and we tend to compartmentalize and in our society.
Yeah.
And I think
sure.
integrating is just a healthier, like you're saying, more holistic
Yeah.
state to be in.
Well, I mean, even from a business standpoint, I mean, if you're not touching on the emotional side of things, the spiritual side of things, the physical, the economic, I mean, there are so many spheres and dimensions to our lives are complex.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
to view it that way. So I'm really curious. So what has kind of been the thing that really has been kind of an aha moment in the last say 12 months or so that you woke up one day and you said, wow, this is exactly why I'm doing this. I mean, this is the greatest thing that ever happened.
So I think it had to do with my mastermind. So I started a mastermind last year in September, and it was just kind of like, I can only work with a number of one-on-one clients. I have a busy schedule, but I want to work with more women. I want to help more women. So how do I do that? So the group coaching idea came to me, and I created a mastermind of female entrepreneurs to kind of help them get their business from where they are to where they want to go. And it was just kind of it was a small group, and it was kind of a fun on the side thing that I wanted to do. And the group really bonded very well. And they were just a bunch of beautiful women. And so the idea was it was going to be a year commitment. So we went from September to August. So this September, I decided, okay, that was a lot of fun. And these women had this amazing growth. So I'm going to do it again. And I would say almost every single woman who did it last year is on board for round 2 and telling all of their friends. I don't even have a landing page for this mastermind. It was just mostly just from word of mouth, and they all wanted to do it again. And there was only 3, I think, women who didn't. 2 of them are pregnant and literally about to have babies, so they're going on their own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And another woman got this amazing corporate opportunity, so she's kind of going back into corporate for a little while.
Sure.
But everybody else was like, I want to do this again. And it just filled up my heart in a way of like, wow, I'm helping these women and they want to continue working with me. And this little thing I was doing on the side had such a huge impact. So I was talking to one of my girlfriends about it, and I actually kind of got emotional and my eyes teared up because I was like, this is what I want to do. I just want to help these women. And they're so enthusiastic to continue for another 12 months. Like, that's a big commitment. And they're telling all their friends, and there's a lot of referrals coming in. I just booked another woman today, another woman yesterday. It's like, it's just fallen into place. And so sometimes it's not the big picture goals, that end up creating those results. Sometimes it's the small things. And I think that's been huge for me, and just trusting in that, trusting with my instincts too, to just like, well, maybe I'll just start up a little mastermind group,
right,
and see where that goes. And it's been incredible.
And that's kind of the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, it is kind of the whole idea, the kind of lean startup mentality, where you kind of have the idea, you come up with a minimum viable product, you're doing testing, you're iterating, you're refining, you're getting feedback, and then you're kind of starting the cycle over again, and it's growing into a more developed product. But as you were talking, I mean, the question came to my mind. I mean, how do you scale that? And the whole idea, I'm sure you struggle with that, but I mean, I can see, out of these masterminds, I could see you having the opportunity to really pour in. Maybe there's one in every group, or two in every group, that you're thinking, you know what, I could actually mentor them to replicate myself, where they're like, now they're the intake group, now I'm level 2, I'm 2.0 or whatever
that's right,
or type thing. And I could see you almost scaling that in a cascading fashion. But it really is I mean, people see authenticity. I mean, people know that you care about them, and they know that they can, in that mastermind, I mean, you can tell by your retention level that
right,
they're actually they think they're getting value.
Because
it's not free to do this. So, I mean,
that's right.
There's an investment in that. So is there somebody online that you would say really has been an inspiration to you, kind of, that's, that you view as kind of, they're ahead of me in the journey, but I'm kind of really watching their, how they've grown, and I'm trying to kind of pattern some things after that? Or
that's an interesting question, because I feel like there are so many, mentors out there that I follow and I learn from, whether they're doing exactly what I'm doing or not. But like, I don't know if you know Joseph McClendon III. So I heard him speak in an event, a live event once, and he had such an impact on me. First of all, he's very, very funny. So if you know me, I'm very attracted to clever, funny, smart, witty people. I love that. And he's hilarious. He's very funny, and he does a lot of speaking, but he's a coach, and I've seen him speak now a number of times. And then I became a part of an inner circle where he does a training once every, I think, 6 weeks or so. And he's now he's starting to work with Gary Vee on his social media and all that, because he's never been involved in social media before. And he was like, okay, I gotta figure this out. And so, and I love him because he's not a superstar. I have access to him. And he's just really honest about, like, for example, the social media. Like, he's like, I'm just learning this for myself. And of course he works with Gary Vee. And I remember asking him once, and I was like, why Gary? And he goes, because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, fair enough.
For sure.
And anyway, I love Joseph because he's constantly reinventing himself. I think he's in his 60s now. And I see him reinventing himself along the way, depending on what's going on around the world. And I admire that hugely. I admire that greatly. Yeah.
This next question kind of feeds off of that one too. Is there a quote that, I mean, you talk about the inspirational person. Is there a quote that you got taped up beside your laptop there, or, put on your wall of your office or whatever?
So it's actually not up in my office, because my office is fairly new, but I was given a book. Oh my gosh, I think I might have been 19, and inside it was a quote that my boyfriend at the time wrote, and he said, "Dream great dreams and make them come true." And that has been my go-to, my mantra. That I feel like the theme of my life is to dream great dreams and then make them come true.
And that almost sounds like Walt Disney.
It does a little bit.
You know, it's kind of a, you know, the whole Disney, you know,
It's
um,
true. That's so true. Yeah,
I,
it's helped me a lot. It's helped me. I think I've written it to other, people in birthday cards or, whatnot, anniversary cards but because you can dream really great dreams and then, and you can make them come true. And I've done it. And I didn't grow up in a family who necessarily believed that,
sure. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so often that's true. I mean,
mhm,
it's almost counterintuitive to the way, you know, our parents raised us, or vice
yeah,
versa. That it's this whole idea that, you know, part of this was kind of breaking out of a mold that we grew up in.
yeah,
And by doing that, I mean, we had to kind of kick down some walls, and
yeah,
you know, but it's really interesting that I mean, I love asking that question, because it's rarely is it just the quote itself. There's
yeah.
always a story behind,
That's
you
right.
know, that led you to why that's such a meaningful thing. But so this is going to be a really hard question for you to answer, I
Oh,
believe, because you have so many things to choose from. But
okay.
so let's just, you know, you're going to be forced to kind of pick an era, or pick a window of time. But I'm really curious. I love asking this question too. That the whole idea of kind of going back to your pre-startup self, you know, like with
Yes.
your knowledge today, you know, get in the time machine and go backwards a little bit and say, man, if I knew then what I know now, this is what I would do differently. And you can pick
Uh-huh.
any moment in time that you want to, but what's one piece of advice you think would be a real game changer?
I think the I think it would be, well, there's two things, but I think,
You can use two.
okay. Okay, so the one thing would be I would tell myself to trust in the process, because I think, I think I would just try to remind myself that everything happens for a reason. Everything is happening for you and not to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when things don't go the way you've planned, just listen for the lessons, because there is really no such thing as failure. And when things don't fall into place the way you'd like, it's going to be really frustrating and scary, especially when you think you have so much at risk. And I think, most people invest a lot of time and a lot of money, and other resources into building a business. And because I know I did. And so when things don't go as planned, it can trigger a lot of emotions and frustration, and also feelings of worthlessness. And am I doing the right thing? Like, you can go down
Yeah.
a slippery slope, right? So I think that I would just tell myself that when things don't go as planned, it's just feedback. I say it's just feedback from the universe, and it's an opportunity to learn and grow and become, wiser, better, stronger. And then the second thing I would say is to find a mentor way sooner than I did. So that was
Why do you think
huge.
people don't do that? Is it just strictly an economic issue, or is it
I
you
think
don't recognize you need one?
I think probably both, because when you're in it, you can't really see the forest through the trees, and you're
Sure.
just trying to focus on building your business. And I also think that they do believe, I can't afford that. And in a way, you can't afford not to. And not all coaches cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
You have to find the right one. It's like a personal trainer. You have to find that right
Right.
fit.
Right.
It's a relationship, and it's an important
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
But I know some really great coaches that are going through programs who are coaching for free, because they're learning to become coaches, and some of them are really good.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're just taking one golden nugget, from each session, or whatever it is, if it's helping you just to see from another perspective. I always say the person with the most perspectives has the most power.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. That's true of your mastermind as well. I mean, it is, that is
Mm,
relational as well. I mean, it's the whole
yeah,
idea that, you know, this mastermind, the key may not be the fact that it's the information download you're getting. It may just be you know, they're asking really good questions, or you
yeah,
really building a trust, in a unique sort of way. And so people can grow, they can get over fear, all those things that they're
yeah.
struggling with. So what a great way to kind of segue into maybe my favorite part of the whole interview. And this is just when I kind of get out of the way and be quiet and let you kind of assume the role of a professor in our Rising Tide micro course library. So
Love it.
I'm going to get out of the way, and you've got the mic. Take off.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. So I was very excited when you shared with me that you have this part of the course. I think that's really exciting. And I'm super stoked to share with you one of the tools that I use with every single one of my businesses. And I teach this to every single one of my clients, and it's called a business map. So it's not a business plan, it's a business map, which essentially it's an at a glance, easy to digest document that clarifies where your company is, where your business is, and where you want to go. And it allows you to stay on track and achieve the outcomes that you desire a lot sooner. So it's almost like an accountability partner and a strategist all in one place in the form of a document, essentially. So mine is just a simple Word document, and I look at it every quarter. Well, that's not true. Actually, I look at mine more regularly because for me, it's a really essential tool that I use, for example, for social media posts. That I have a social media manager, but we work with my business map. I use it for any kind of promotional material, branding, all of that. And I'll kind of get into that. But typically you would look at this every 3 months, the way that it's designed. And so on this document, there are a number of questions that you fill out, and then you tweak along the way. So you can use this, I should also say, you can use this if you're just starting out, and you can use this if, for me, like Anamaya is 10 years old and I still use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the questions that I have in my business map. And so, and I would also suggest that you can add, you can tweak, you can edit so that it's more relevant for your business. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. See if this works. Okay. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, awesome. Perfect. I'm just going to move this down there. Okay. So, so some of the questions that are on my business map are, what is your X factor? So what makes you stand out from your competitors? What makes you special? What makes you unique? So put yourself in the shoes of your client. Why do they want to work with you and not somebody else? Who is your current client? And also a follow-up to this would, who does your client need to be? So this isn't, I don't think this is on that, no, it's not on the PowerPoint, but who does your client need to be? Because you may have been working for 6 months and you might need to shift who you're marketing to or expand who you're reaching out to, right? Or the opposite, you might need to niche down and create a narrower demographic, okay? Next question is, what are your clients' pain points? And this obviously is a big one. It's talked a lot about in business courses and things like that. But I would invite you to go really deep into this, dig really, really deep. Like for example, I'm a coach and I help people develop more confidence because they're stuck in a job that they hate or something. So then I would go deeper into like, why do they hate their job? Where do they feel stuck? Are there issues of scarcity? Is it, just really, really, really dig deep. Like when they wake up in the morning, what are their deepest fears? And why aren't they doing what they need to do in order to create the life that they want, for example, right? So it's a really great area to get super clear on. What will your client need in the future? And this is an important one to ask yourself, and it's often overlooked because we don't really think about this. So what I would say is I invite you to spend a little bit of time thinking about what your client will need from you in the future. So you have your client, you're working with them. Anticipate what their needs are going to be in the future so then you can be there like a knight in shining armor when they need it. Ta-da! So next question, what is the focus or the mission of your business? Again, get super, super, super clear. Dive in deep, right? So the focus or the mission of Anamaya could be, it's a retreat center and a yoga teacher training center that offers clients, an escape from life or a certification, to become a yoga teacher. But if I was to go deeper, I'd be like, the mission of the business is to literally transform our guests at a cellular level, right? So it's like you can have fun and go deep into the focus or the mission of your business. And then is your current communications, your messaging, and your branding reflecting that? Mm-hmm. Right? Is it reflecting the fact that we want to transform our guests at a cellular level? Have we been posting kind of whatever we felt, was relevant on social media without really thinking about that mission? Yeah. And here's another thing. Are you also posting without thinking about your X factor? Are you also posting without thinking about your client's pain points? Right? So again, this is the theme today has been this intimate connection, right?
Exactly.
So again, a really important area and that's why we look at this every 3 months, every quarter. Are your revenues or your profits, are they growing? Are they declining? Are they staying the same, and for how long? Right? Another very important area to look at. Okay. Next question. What are the current problems within your business that need to be addressed? So basically, what's not working? Right? What's not working? And a lot of time we spend, if this is working, we want to do more of that, but we're not really focused on what's not working. And here's the other thing. You get hurt in the area of the business, the area of your business that you don't know how to do very well, that you just, don't like doing, even if you can do it well, you don't like it, or you ignore. It's the area of the business that you're going to get hurt in the most. So look at where the current problems are within the business that need to be addressed. And then what types of problems do you need to anticipate? And this is a little bit of a weird question, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We can't really see the future. But if we spend some time brainstorming and you shift your mindset to think about, okay, well, what could be around the corner that I can anticipate, then you can get super strategic. Who on your team is working well? Who on your team is not working out well? And if you don't have a team, it's you. So what are you doing well and what are you doing not so well? Just to get honest, super transparent. And then who do you need or who is missing from your team? So do you need a VA, right? Do you need a social media manager, or maybe you need a marketing firm, depending on how big you are? Mm-hmm. Do you need a bookkeeper? Or again, if you're big enough, maybe you need an in-house accountant, right? So again, important questions to ask yourself. And this is why we look at the business map every quarter, because at quarter one, the answer could be very, very different than at quarter four, right? What are the outcomes that you want for your business? So this is where this is the juicy stuff, right? This is like the goals of your business. Where do you see yourself taking it? What does it look like in the future? And you can go ahead and think really, really big. And then I tell my clients, think really, really big, and then take it even farther than that, right? This is the fun stuff. This is where you get to visualize and play and just go for it.
Dream big.
Yeah, that's it. Pie in the sky, dream big. If nothing could stop you, where would you take it? And then the next question is why, right? Why do you want to achieve these outcomes?
Inspired by Simon Sinek.
Yeah, and actually it's funny because I was big on my why before I even knew who Simon Sinek was, who I love. I love him so much. But why is the driving factor, right, behind it all? Yep. And I love Simon, but I've been big on why for a long, long time with my clients, because if we don't have our why, we're not going to stay on track. It's like I said, it's the driving force. And also sometimes we might need to change it.
Sure.
Right? To keep us authentic and genuine, depending on the evolution and the growth of our business, we might need to change our why. So that'll keep us, authentic in our pursuit to grow our business. Okay. And then, so a lot of people go, what are your 1-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals? I go the other way. So what are your 1-year goals? And then what are your 6-month goals? And then what are your 3-month goals? And then you can kind of see where this is going, because this is a document that I recommend looking at every 3 months, right? So then you ask yourself, what are the strategies in place to achieve those goals? And then last but not least, what actions can you take, like right now, like today, towards implementing those strategies and achieving your 3-month goals? So essentially you look at the year ahead, you break it down into 6 months. Like, what do I have to do to get, like, halfway to get there? And then halfway to get to 6 months, what are my 3-month goals? And then you decide on action steps that you literally can start implementing today to start working towards those 3-month goals. And then in 3 months from now, you're going to go back and then you're going to check in to see where you're at to see if you're still on track, to see if you need to tweak. And this has been, like, again, I use it for every single one of my businesses. It's a huge tool to help me stay on track. And I believe that it's helped me grow, or not necessarily grow faster, but get further faster, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that's my little training on the business map.
So let me ask you this. So at the end of 3 months, are you tweaking the map as well, or are you leaving the map consistent so it's kind of a consistent measure against how you've done the last 3 months, or is it some combination of the two?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a combination. So what I do is I'll go through it, and I'll go through all of, actually, I just did one today with one of my clients. We went over her business map again today, and her pain points, we've gone a little deeper, because this is the other thing, is now that she's working with more clients, she's getting clearer on who they are and what their pain points are. So for example, we tweaked that. You know, and then we looked at her 1 year, 6 month, 3 month. Did you achieve all those 3 month goals, or the ones that you didn't? Are they still are they still goals you want to achieve, or maybe they're not relevant anymore?
Yeah.
And we look at the 6 month, and can we plunk that down into 3 month, or do we have to, you know, shift that?
Right.
You know, like looking at your mission, has that been incorporated into the communications, and do we need to tweak it? So it's a little bit of both. Like, it can help you, you know, to navigate where you are, and did I do what I was supposed to do? But also, like, okay, moving forward, is it still relevant, and how can I tweak it? Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's such a really, I mean, it seems fairly easy and comprehensive all at the same time. I mean, this whole idea of, you know, I mean, when you started talking, I thought, you know, it's going to be three bullet points, and then you started showing the slides, and that you really do go into depth. I mean, there is depth to this, but that you really do need to look at, because it'd be very easy to gloss over and just kind of lump everything in broad categories. But you really have to, you know, for your key performance indicators, I mean, they really have to be well defined.
Exactly.
You know, to see if you're meeting those, and it's kind of like a, you know, mini A/B testing, you know, within the map itself, and as you're going along.
And I went over that so quickly. Like, usually that'll take an hour and a half to go through with, you know, with a client. So I just glossed over it. But yeah, they're important questions that usually, you're looking at the number of clients you have, or you're looking at your numbers in terms of money. Are you going over your social media to see, you know, oh, that post, you know, I had great engagement, and that post I didn't. And then do you do an audit on that? Yeah. You know, that would fall in line in terms of, like, are your communications reflecting your mission, you know, and or your X factor, or their pain points, things like that. And, you know, there's so much more, you know, we can go a lot more in depth with that, but it gives you a great overview in terms of the questions you should be asking yourself. Because, like I said, you get hurt in the area of your business that you ignore, that you don't do very well, or you know, you don't like doing.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And I think, you know, I like the idea that it's a little bit, you know, flexible, you know, you can kind of tweak the questions for your own specific, you know, context. But no, it's such a good way to really, I mean, just kind of, it's almost like a check-in, you know. I mean, you can certainly look at it more often than 3 months. I mean, you may look at it every week or every month or whatever, just as kind of a touch point, you know, along those times. But
exactly,
Kelsey, this has really been good today. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything that I have not asked you about that and I do have a question I want to circle back with it.
Okay.
Kind of triggered it. That kind of was triggered in my mind during the interview, but I want to give you space if there's something that you want to touch on.
Sure. So I thought about this, and, you know, in terms of, is there a question that nobody's ever really asked me, and I wish that they would? And the question was, you know, somebody comes to me, because we don't think in these terms. Mostly people are like, how do I grow my business? Or how do I do this? How do I do that? But it's like, how do I get out of my own way?
What a great question.
And I think that, you know, and I love this question, because I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that. And you might be a little surprised, but I don't know, you might be a little surprised by my answer, but maybe not. And I think that, you know, because we've all been there when you feel like nothing is working, or you feel like you keep, like, bumping up that, you know, up against that brick wall, or like the situation you're in is never going to end, it'll never end. And so when that's going on, and you do feel like, oh, like I just can't get anything right, you need to stop. And I don't mean stop your business or shut down your business. I just mean stop the efforting. And that's been kind of my word over the last 3 years, is like this efforting to make it all work. You know, you have to stop the late nights. You have to stop purchasing more programs or workshops or courses or seminars that, you know, that you think is going to give you all the magic secrets. And I'm not saying that investing in yourself, you know, by hiring a coach or educating yourself is wrong. I mean, hello, I'd be a big hypocrite if I was to say that. Sure. Also, not only because I'm a coach, but because I buy all the programs and I pay like exorbitant amounts of money for my coaches. Like I do believe that is important. But what I mean is to stop that frenetic behavior of, you know, trying to force something to work. Because the way I see it is it's the equivalent of, you know, running frantically on a hamster wheel. And we've all heard that analogy before, because you're going nowhere fast and you're also burning yourself and your resources out. So we stand in our own way when we resist our reality. And, you know, I always say like we're white knuckling it. We stand in our own way when we push down or ignore or numb, you know, our pains or fears or past emotional wounds. Like you and I were talking earlier, we're talking about how it's all, you know, intimately related. Yeah. And I know a lot of people, and you know what, I'm me included, I'm guilty of this, but we've all used like, oh, it's the thing is, it's wine o'clock. I see that all the time on Facebook. It's wine o'clock, right? And we use wine o'clock to check out, you know, because building a business is hard and we've had a hard day. And I know a lot of people who want, you know, that martini or that glass of wine or whatever it is to just, but it actually, it also allows us to stay stuck. Right. And I also think that we get in our own way when we're acting out of desperation. So I think that, you know, and I should also say again, we all do it. I continue to catch myself falling into these types of bad habits and patterns, like, you know, so what do we need to do? The advice I would give would be, you need to stop literally and take a breath or 3 to get out of our heads and into our bodies. And we have to listen, because everything's happening for a reason. So we need to learn the lessons that are actually being presented. And those struggles are being presented as lessons in order for us to grow. And we literally need to feel what's going on in order to kind of, you know, break through that to that next level. Sure. Because that will actually allow us to heal, like energetically, literally allow us to heal. And what I mean by heal is by feeling the feelings, feeling the pain, feeling the fears, feeling the emotions that are surfacing, you know, and being triggered, because they're being triggered for a reason. So I think, you know, we need to stop and we need to connect in order to see things from multiple perspectives. I said earlier, the person with the most perspectives has the most power. And because when we're in that mode of like efforting, we're seeing from tunnel vision. Right. Right. And so we need to recognize that these obstacles are gifts and they're opportunities to transform not only ourselves personally, but professionally. And I believe they're brilliantly being presented to us. Right. And as we evolve as people, our businesses evolved because they are connected. So that's a question I never get asked, and I wish I would be.
You know what? If you're interviewed on future podcasts and they do any research at all, they're gonna listen to that question.
That's right.
Say, hey, you know what? I want to let her wrap up with that one. So, well, I really appreciate you taking the time today and just sharing with our audience, and, you know, from your area of expertise, and I love the whole idea of creating this kind of the business, you know, roadmap for yourself, and how clear you were in presenting that, and just the entire story you shared with us today. But tell me where people can find you online, and I'll close this here.
Yeah. So I'm at kelseymatheson.com. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm not that difficult, but I also am on Instagram at _Kelsey Matheson. Okay. So it's KelseyMatheson. I'm on Facebook as well as Kelsey Matheson. And but you can mostly, I think I direct people either to Instagram or my website mostly.
Well, Kelsey, thank you so much once again for just taking time to just sharing your expertise with us, and just sharing your Friday afternoon. And I really appreciate that. And even hearing the New York sirens in the background.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Perfect sound effect, to add to the kind of the whole, genre we're talking about. But
that's right.
just thank you again for, like I said, just taking the time and just helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Kelsey, have a
Yeah.
great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much.